बहुत प्रणाम। Before I start with my journey with Guruji, I would like to give you a little background of my childhood, which I think is very highly connected to Guruji. I come from a family where both my paternal and maternal side were religious. From my paternal side, my grandfather, and from my maternal side, my grandmother. The other two partners were completely not interested in religion. So now, whenever I come from a background, army background, and whenever there were holidays, I would go and stay with my paternal grandparents at the farm. Now, my paternal grandfather always insisted that without a guru, तुम्हारा कुछ नहीं हो पाएगा. गुरु जब तक नहीं होंगे तो तुम पे ग्रेस नहीं हो सकती और तुम कभी भी भवजल से पार नहीं हो सकते. So that was my understanding from him. When I would be with my maternal grandmother, with whom I always stayed, she also had a guru, but she would believe in the Guru Granth Sahib a lot, do a lot of part, and every day go to the Gurdwara. So I would accompany her to the Gurdwara. But she thought that Guru Granth Sahib is the prime guru, right? Though she had a guru, but she felt कि वो मंत्र देते हैं, आप वो मंत्र करते हो और आपको मतलब again भवजल से पार होते हो. So this was how I, grew up. There came a time when I must have been about 17, 18 years old, when I told my grandfather कि मेरे को नाम लेके दो, क्योंकि मेरे को भी परमात्मा को पाना है. So he was very happy, but my grandmother put her foot down, saying, "इसकी शादी हो जाएगी, और अगर ऐसे घर में हो गई जहाँ पे नहीं उन्हें पसंद है, तो she'll get into trouble. So you don't get involved in all this." I mean, she actually got annoyed with him, and this did not happen for me. Finally, I got married and got married into a family whose understanding of religiosity was again completely different. So they said that no, it's only the Guru Granth Sahib, koi guru nahi aap dharan karte, bas Guru Granth Sahib ko aap guru manenge, So not that it was forced on me, but again, my mother-in-law, that was her understanding. So as life went by, my father-in-law passed away, and my husband being the only son, I had to come and live with my my mother-in-law, who जो के अपना घर नहीं छोड़ना चाहते थे. तो she said कि मैं तो घर से नहीं जाऊंगी, and so I thought it's my responsibility, तो मैं आके उनके साथ रहने लगी. As time went by, I started to again, when you have kids, you get involved, you have a husband, you're on a different plinth altogether. But then finally, I again started to rethink that what is my purpose in life? Why am I here? I think when you've done all that, you've been there, you realize that, well, it's not the ultimate. So, अब मैं ये बहुत सोचने लग गई और मैं बहुत पाठ करने लग गई, मैं सुखमनी साहब का पाठ करती होती थी. तो एक बार मेरे ग्रैंडफादर मुझे मिलने आए मेरठ में, that's where I was, and we were sitting out in the garden, and he said कि बेटा देख, मैंने तेरे भाइयों के नाम पे सारी जमीन लगा दी है, my brother, my cousins, तो मैंने तेरे को तो कुछ नहीं दिया, तो तुझे क्या चाहिए? So probably I was very melancholy those days. So I said, बापू जी आप बोलते हो ना कि गुरु सबसे बड़ा धन होता है, तो आप प्रे करो कि मुझे गुरु मिल जाए, मुझे और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. He smiled, closed his eyes, and he prayed for me. Couple of days later, I came to Chandigarh. Chandigarh में मेरे parents थे, और जहाँ हमारा घर था उससे बिल्कुल 5 या 6 घर छोड़ के गुरुजी रह रहे थे, right opposite our house. So my mother said कि बेटा यहाँ पे गुरु महाराज आए हैं, would you like to go and meet him? And I said, of course. So in the evening we went. When we went, तो जैसे ही मैं गेट के पास आती हूँ, मुझे इतनी ज्यादा फ्रेग्रेंस आनी शुरू हो गई कि मुझे लग रहा था कि पता नहीं इन लोगों ने इतनी अगरबत्तियां यहाँ गेट पे ही लगा दी हैं, पता नहीं इतना क्यों, इतनी, द फ्रेग्रेंस वाज ओवरपावरिंग. मुझे बहुत ही ज्यादा ऐसे लग रहा था कि जैसे मेरा सांस गुम हो रहा है, इतनी ज्यादा फ्रेग्रेंस. वेंट इनसाइड, तो गुरुजी बैठे हुए थे अपने सिंहासन पे, माथा टेका बैठ के, और उन्होंने मुझसे 2-4 बातें करी. out of which I remember one, अच्छा तू मेरठ तो आई है. I didn't have to tell him. He said, तू मेरठ तो आई है. And I said, हाँ जी गुरुजी. तो कहते अच्छा. Then I don't really remember क्या क्या उन्होंने मुझसे पूछा. After a while he said, अच्छा बैठ जा. मैं वहां पे 2 घंटे बैठी होगी और मैं 2 घंटे वहां रोती रही. For what reason I don't know, but I was weeping all the time. My tears were just rolling down. हमने लंगर किया, वापस आ गए. जब हम वापस आए तो मुझे ऐसे इतना पीसफुल सा लग रहा था, जैसे कुछ शांत हो गया अंदर. अगले दिन हम फिर गए. जब मैं अगले दिन गई तो उस दिन शायद क्यों मेरा ना दिमाग काम करने लग गया, और मैं वहां बैठ के गुरुजी को देख रही हूँ और सोच रही हूँ कि गुरु महाराज तो सफेद कपड़ों में होने चाहिए या औखे कपड़ों में होने चाहिए. इन्होंने तो बड़े फैंसी कपड़े पहने हैं, सिल्क के कपड़े पहने हुए हैं और बैठे हुए हैं और लोग इनसे बातें कर रहे हैं. तो ये तो that's how I was thinking. And then all of a sudden सुखमनी साहब से वो तुक मेरे एकदम से दिमाग में आई कि साध का निंदक महाहत्यारा, साध का निंदक परमेश्वर मारा. And I closed my eyes and I said, गुरु महाराज मेरे को माफ कर दो, मुझे नहीं पता आप क्या हो, है ना, मुझे बताओ आप क्या हो. And right in my head I heard Guruji speaking loudly to me कि तू मेरे कपड़े देखना ही है, इन कपड़े तो अगे आके देख मैं की है. ये कपड़े तो मैं उन्हां लिए पाए जिन्होंने मैं इथों वापस भेजना. And I all of a sudden opened my eyes and he was looking at me and smiling. He hadn't said that to me loudly. It was in my head, but it was so loud in my head that I, opened my eyes and I looked at him and he smiled. We had langar. I didn't communicate with him. We had langar, matha teka, wapas aa gaye. This continued for as many days as I was with my parents. And then my husband came and I know I was to go back with him to Meerut. So he said, I was scared of telling him because he just felt, he once told me, he says, tu aise kaam kar rahi hai jo ke log 70 saal pe karte hain, and you're 30 plus and this is what you're up to. So, he was like, and he didn't even ever go to the Gurdwara. If we both went to the Gurdwara, he would stand outside and say, okay, you go, and I will, I'll just stay here. So, though he was a very good human being, extremely good human being who would help others, help them beyond his own capabilities, he would go to that extent. So, I, picked up some courage and I said, okay, TK, we have to go for a party, but can I please just go for 5 minutes and I'll come back? And he said, okay. And he parked the car right in front of Guruji's house. And I went running in. And when I went there, normally वहाँ पे इतनी line बड़ी नहीं होती थी. उस दिन अच्छी लंबी line लगी हुई थी. And I said, आज तुम मर गए. I said, डांट पड़ जाएगी अच्छे से. He's going to get upset. And he had a foul temper. So I stood there and I prayed to Guruji. I closed my eyes and I said, Guruji, please, या तो बुला लो अंदर या मैंने डांट ना पैर दिया जाए. So after a while I looked back and he's standing there in the line. This person who used to say कि भगवान कुछ नहीं होता और तुम लोग सब पखंड में पड़े हुए हो. Anyway, he stood there and मैंने माथा टेका, मैं बैठ गई. He also bowed down a bit and he sat down. And I was worried, after a while I looked at him and I did, should we go? So he said, okay. And we got up. When we came out, he tells me, he says, why did you get up? We could have sat a little longer. And I was like, I was happy because I thought, okay, chalo, maybe he will bend towards this side. So, well, we came back to Meerut. From Meerut, I used to keep going to Guruji. By then, Guruji went to Delhi. So I got to know Guruji's in Delhi, in Empire State, Chota Mandir. So I would go there whenever I would find time. I would go there. Guruji ने मुझे 2 photographs दी. मैंने डर के मारे वो photographs घर में लगाई भी नहीं, क्योंकि मेरे को ये था मेरे mother-in-law को उल्टा सीधा बोलेंगे और पता नहीं, I was very fearful. There is one thing which is called respecting older people, but I was actually scared. So I just put it inside a file and I put it away. Guruji gave me another photograph. I put that away as well. Today I feel very bad that I did this. But well, we are all human and we come with a lot of flaws. So life went on like this, and my husband in the meantime got posted to Lebanon on a UN mission. He was in the army. He got posted there and he was very fond of his drink. But before that, he was in Assam, where I think he did contact malaria. But in spite of that, he did not give up his drinking. He went to Lebanon. I get a call from Lebanon that Sir's fallen ill very badly. He was commanding the unit at that time. And ma'am, you need to come. I was, all women, I think, especially Indian women, we are really sold out on our husbands, For us, they are the end all in life. And, so that's how it was for me. I was very, very heartbroken and I was very upset. And I went to Delhi from Meerut. Went there, their rare party, was in the tents. So I was first taken there. And when I reached there, that was Shivratri. And I used to keep Shivji ka vrat, though I come from a Sikh family. But I don't know since when, maybe from childhood, I had been keeping my Shivji's vrat. So I went and these people, they gave me a plate full of food because I said, I don't want to eat, but they kind of insisted. So that was Shivratri that day. And, I was so lost. I just had a bite and I realized I'm eating meat. So I dropped the plate and I said, yeah, you shouldn't have given it to me. It's Shivratri today. And I was not supposed to eat this, but never mind. Chalo, ab meko Guruji ke paas le chalo, aap sab kuch chodo, please mujhe Guruji ke paas le chalo. So those officers, they said, "Theek hai, ma'am." We sat in the car and we went. Can you believe it? To a place where I must have been at least, if not more, 20, 30 times. I could not find that place that day. I could not direct them to Guruji. Finally, when it was about 12 o'clock, we found Chota Mandir. Went in, Sudama comes out, the gate was closed. Sudama comes out and says, Bhenji, I said, meko Guruji ko mila do. Please mujhe Guruji ko mila do. And he turns around and tells me ki Guruji to apni puja mein chale gaye. And I said, please, main Guruji ko mile bina nahi ja sakti. And he tells me, he says, Bhenji, Guruji to sab jagah hai. Aap yahi se mata teko, sab theek ho jayega. I didn't even tell him what it was. Anyways, I bent down, I sat there for a minute and I prayed to Guruji and I came away because I had a flight. Went to Lebanon. My husband was very badly off. They said he's not going to survive. When I spoke to the doctor said the max we give him is 3 months. And that also if he doesn't drink. And he'll have to go in for a liver transplant. This was 2000. Liver transplants were literally impossible. My sister-in-law is a doctor in the US. I spoke to her. She said the list is so long, the waiting list for a liver is so long that it'll be impossible even if we are ready to spend all the money. From there, my sister was in UK. She called someone and she had a friend in Israel. So from Lebanon, I went to Israel. They have very good doctors there. The doctor over there said, don't worry, you bring him and we'll see what we can do. I came back and I told my husband this and he got so wild with me. He said, you dare not, even think of this. I'm not going to any doctor. He was very stubborn, very, very stubborn. He was completely broken. He had lost his honor, right? He'd lost his health. And emotionally, of course, he was completely broken. Anyway, from there, he said, I want to go to England. Imagine, he was the youngest in his family, the only son, and I think a bit too spoiled. He always had his way. So I said, okay, let's go to England. This thing was that if I take him to England, my sister said there's a very, very world famous doctor here. We take him to him. So we went to England. We went and, my sister kind of said, we have to go to the doctor, this, that. And he listened to her for a bit. And we finally, हम चले गए. वो डॉक्टर साहब के पास गए तो डॉक्टर साहब ने बोला इनको एडमिट कर दीजिए और हम देख लेंगे. आप वेडनेसडे को आ जाइए. वेडनेसडे को मैं आप अभी मतलब अपना बुक कर जाइए. We said, all right. We booked. And when we booked, he walked out of the hospital and he says, well, you wasted your money now. That's what you wanted to do. And I'm not going back. I'm not going to go to any doctor. I'm fine. I'm not going to any doctor. I didn't know what to do. And he used to get so angry, that if I was sitting on the bed near him, he would kind of ask me to go away. I think, he just didn't want anyone to be there because probably he felt bad that, he didn't expect this to have happened to him. His flight was an official flight, so he came back a day earlier. My mother picked him up. While we were abroad, my mother went to Guruji and she said, "Ke Guruji, extra ho gaya, main ki kara?" He said, "Ke tu," he told her something, "Ke tu extra kar de, jaake eh wali cheez pani ch paya." So she went and she did that. When Lalji, that's my husband, when he reached there, she said, "Okay, we have to go to Guruji." So he said, "Mama, aap mujhe kahan leke ghoom rahe ho? Main itna तकलीफ में हूँ और आपको बस पड़ी हुई है कि मैं गुरुजी के पास जाऊं, है ना?" She said, "बेटा तू मेरी एक बात मान ले, तू चल." She took him. She says that as long as he sat there, he was abusing Guruji. He's saying, "ये गंजे से हैं, ये क्या कर लेंगे? Doctors कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. What is he going to do?" There's a saying in Punjabi, कि "It putte saad milda hai." That if you lift a brick, you can find a sadhu in India. What are you doing to me? So all that she said, he sat there and I kept saying, "Chup kar ja beta, chup kar ja," but he wouldn't listen to me. Anyways, वापस आ गए, लंगर किया, वापस आ गए. अगले दिन मैं गई. I had reached, so I went to Guruji and I sat there in the corner and I was literally shaking with fear. I was very, very fearful. And my mother said, go and say, tell him. So I moved forward and I said, "Guruji," I didn't even say anything. And Guruji turns around and tells me, "Nastik hai. Main ki kar sakta hai da. Kuch nahi main karna." And I just heard these words and I stepped back and I sat down and I started weeping. After a while, Guruji looks at me and calls me, tells me, "Extra kar de." I went and I did that. Very soon after that, his results, his SGPT results, which are liver function results, they were so out of place that it's literally impossible to think that they could go up to 200 something or 300 something like that. I don't even remember today. And they're supposed to be somewhere close to 30. They started to improve. And after a while, they started to come down. I used to go to Guruji every day. We were in the tents over there. I would go and sit down and say nothing. eat langar, come back. Every day this is what was happening. One day Guruji says, okay, Behna the kalyan karta hai. And I said, Patani, what does Guruji mean? And every day Guruji would say, Ja ash kar, ja ash kar. And I would think, Guruji, my life is falling apart. That tusi mainu kende ja ash kar. Anyway, एक दिन मैं मतलब ऐसे ही रात को गुरुजी के पास आई थी, काफी लेट 11 साढ़े 11 I went back and मैं टेंट में सो रही थी. Like I told you, मैं बहुत सुखमनी साहब का पाठ करती थी, तो मुझे ऐसे लगा कि किसी ने टेंट का फ्लैप ऐसे खोला है, and I was fast asleep. I could hear the flap and I got up with a startle and I got scared and I closed my eyes and right here in the center of my forehead, जैसे पुराने कैमरास का अपर्चर खुलता है, ऐसे एक अपर्चर सा खुला and I saw Guruji sitting in his red chola over there and telling me, उठ जा हुन सुत्ती पई है, मैं उन्हें ठीक करन आया. And I just kept doing part and I thought कि पता नहीं मैं की सोची जा रही है ते मेरे नाल की हो रहा है, what is this going on with me. Anyway, I was doing part, जल्दी जल्दी मैं पाठ करी जा रही थी. थोड़ी देर के बाद मुझे ऐसी स्मेल्स आनी शुरू हो गई जैसे एक ऑपरेशन थिएटर में आती. एंड कुछ देर बाद वो पर्चा सब बंद हुआ and the flap again like shh karke there was a kind of sound and something went out. And after a while I just lay down and I kept doing my part and I don't know when I went off to sleep. When I got up in the morning, that's when I realized that what had happened. And then I go to Guruji the next morning, next evening, and the moment I step in, he looks at me, he smiles, and he says, "Fir karta na main kalyan." And I said, "Haji Guruji." All of us have a very different relationship with Guruji. There were some people who could go up to him, hold his hand, speak to him, laugh with him. I always held him in reverence, and I would sit behind or I would sit on the side, keep looking at him, close my eyes, listen to the bhajans. I never had the strength to go and tell him, Guruji, how are you? Guruji, tusi kis tarah ho? Tusi theek ho? Pata nahi, mere mein dam hi nahi tha, himmat hi nahi hai. If I had to do it today, I would go and hug him probably and, say, Guruji, you're mine, or whatever. But that time it was not like that. I was just too silly. So I would sit every day, and now another thing came into my mind that my husband was really a fantastic guy, but a guy's guy. He never felt, that he had any responsibility in the family. He felt that was my job. He was very happy shooting around and running around with guys and, doing his army stuff, whatever. So I always had this in my mind that I wish he was like a friend to me. I wish he was, we were closer and we could share things. So I would stand there in front of Guruji every day and in my heart say, कि Guruji, Lalji ko mera meet bana do. And Guruji अपना मुंह खोल के मुझे बोलते थे, मान मितने. His surname was Man. His surname is Man. So he would say, मान मितने. And I would wonder कि गुरुजी को मेरी बात सुन जाती है, पर गुरुजी मेरे को मुंह से ऐसे बोलते हैं. See, so many miracles happened with me. Every day there was a miracle happening with me, but I did not have the sense to recognize them. I don't know why, how foolish I was. Today when I look back and I see that, if this happened with anybody, they would think, wow, that's a miracle. To me, that never occurred. Every single day, it was the same story. Guruji, Lalji ko mera meet bana do. And Guruji would say, maan mitne. The next thing Guruji would say, ki hal hai manda? And I would say, theek hai Guruji. That was our communication. Every single day. He would never ask me, ki hal hai tera? He would say, ki hal hai manda? This went on and on. After that, we came back to Meerut. From Meerut, we came to Ambala. From Ambala also, I would keep going to Guruji once a month, and my husband would get upset and angry and whatever, but he was like, she's beyond repair, so let her do what she wants to do. So I would go to Guruji, and this is what would happen with us. Every time it was the same story, same story with me, every time. Once I found the strength to ask Guruji. I said, Guruji, tusi is tarah kyun bolde ho? And Guruji, like a little child, like a little child, I mean, it was so amazing. Like a little child, he pulls himself back and he says, main thodi कहना है, ये तो Guru Gobind Singh ने किया, कि मान मित ने. So, I just smiled and I said, ठीक है, जे Guru Gobind Singh ने किया, तो फिर तो मैं कुछ कर ही नहीं सकती, So this is how my journey with Guruji started. Now, I'll just tell you a little more, and then I'm sorry I'll have to go, but maybe next time. And then one day, slowly and slowly, Lalji also started to believe in Guruji. Now, before I tell you this, I must also tell you one thing, that the day I went to Guruji, when he had come to me, I won't even say it was a dream, and I take good matha, and he said, Kartana Kalyan, and I looked at his nails, and his nails were blue. That day I stood there and I said, never will I ever ask you for anything in my life. Because you have taken this upon yourself. My desire to have this man with me has put my Guru through so much. And truly after that, we're all human. पता नहीं लगता है कब desire आ जाती है और कब हम बोल देते हैं. बट मेरी बड़ी कोशिश रही कि मैं ये ना बोलूं, मैं कभी ना बोलूं. मेरे बच्चों ने मुझे बोला कि मामा अब गुरुजी से हमारे लिए ये मांग दो. My mother would say, गुरुजी पता नहीं तेरी गाल क्यों सुन लेते हैं, तू मेरे लिए मांग दे, मेरे नीज दर्द कर दे, गुरुजी ने बोल दे. मैंने कभी नहीं बोला. I never said it. Yes, there are times जब unknowingly मन से निकल जाता है, गुरुजी इस तरह या गुरुजी उस तरह. But I hope he can keep me on the track, and it's only his wish if I can be on that track and not ask him and believe that whatever he does will be for my good. I'd like to tell you one thing. I was a very fearful person. I had a lot of expectations from my husband. Also, I think I had a lot of ego. Now, we are like, this is what I am saying, this is what is my feeling, that we are like a very heavy core. And when we come in the presence of our Guru, it's not our part, it's nothing that we do, it's only his grace, which makes that core become lighter and lighter. My fears started to disappear. I'm not saying I'm not fearful, but they became lesser. My expectations became lesser. I think my ego also has started to become less in his presence. It only happened in his presence. When he said, Ashkar, Kalyan Kita, that's what he was doing to me. I was doing part for ages. I was doing vrat for ages. Nothing happened. I was still the same stupid person that, I was. But here came a time when I actually started to feel other people's pain. I would want them to be happy. I wanted everyone around me to be happy. So, it's his grace which brings the change in us. Nothing else. We are incapable of doing anything. We may do anything. Today also I sit and meditate. Let me tell you, I just close my eyes and I sit. I don't know what I do. Only when he wants it will it happen. But I just sit there saying, it's up to you. So this is how my journey with Guruji started. And let me tell you, without his grace, there is nothing. And he's actually Bholenath. So if you open up to him with whatever vices we have, whatever drawbacks we have, he's just going to pour his grace and be there for you forever and ever. Thank you so much. There are lots and lots of, miracles which happened, but right now, I would like to say thank you and farewell. May Guruji bless each one of you and be there for you. Jai Guruji.